Welcome everyone to our Shining Star service once again this week. We haven't been too diligent about making sure these are up every week exactly, but we put them up as the Spirit moves us, so to speak. We'd like to welcome you again to a place where we remind you over and over again that you are a shining star, no matter who you are, shining bright to see what you can truly be. So we speak again of meditation, the one way that we have on this earth to free ourselves from all of the anger, all of the fear, all of the delusions, all of the fantasies that make us who we think we are, acting out in a world, in a system that is full of fear and anger and prejudices, and not even knowing that we are actually doing it. So we practice meditation and we practice Sat Yoga in order to set ourselves free so that we can become the human beings that we were born to be. We can become what the transcendentalists like Emerson and Thoreau and Margaret Fuller spoke of when they talked about transcending the human condition. They were talking about tapping into that divine part of the self, the ever-living part of the self, that divine spark that resides in everything and that is in everything. It's very hard, however, to realize that part of ourselves without going into the darkness, going through the darkness, getting rid of the things that we have adopted or we have taken on as we learn from others, as we learned during very early years of our lives, from the time that we were born up to the age of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. We place this whole matrix in our minds telling us how we should behave and how we should think and how we should look and what things have value. The rest of our lives we either try to enforce those things by becoming what that matrix tells us over and over again, or those who seek the truth work to dismantle that matrix and to return to the pristine, pure self that we all are. One of the main things that helps to make that matrix operate is fundamentalism. And when I'm talking about fundamentalism, I'm not only talking about the fundamentalism of a church or a religion, but the fundamentalism that resides in just about everyone's heart that exists now in this place, on this earth, in this year, 2009. I just came back from Chili's today. I went and had a little snack and drank a margarita, which was very good, by the way. I like the salt around the rim. As I was sitting there, I looked across the room and I saw these women in white, obviously missionaries from some type of Pentecostal church or Baptist church or one of the black churches, basically. The profile of one looked almost exactly like my mother used to look, who is dead now. I remember looking at them and thinking about them and thinking about how they dedicated their lives to trying to create a better world. How each and every Sunday they go to church and they pray and they cry with those who are downtrodden and oppressed. They share what they think of as the good news. They share something that they feel will save people's souls from hell and destruction. Not only that, but make their lives better in this world. They are often laughed at, often ridiculed, often put down at workplaces or on the streets or anywhere they dare to share this good news. But they continue. And the only reason that they continue to sacrifice themselves is because they think they have something that can save our lives, that can save our eternal souls. They think that they have something that is worth sharing. As I was looking at them, I felt a bit of sadness. One reason was because this woman looked so much like my mother, who has now passed away. The other sadness was because of the projections that I remember these people often received from others. We of the liberal faiths often pat ourselves on the back for not being fundamentalist. We think about how great we are or how lucky we are not to have been swept away into this self-deception congratulating ourselves all the time, patting ourselves on the back, not realizing how loving and kind and caring these people are, and not realizing that much of that comes from their conviction. And so many of them go and work and die for the faith in order to help others, while we congratulate ourselves because we are not swept away with the fundamentalism. Or perhaps we are swept away with a different type of fundamentalism, because as we think about it, and as I looked at those women, I began to realize that the fundamentalism, the belief in God, the belief in the resurrection, all those things wasn't really the problem. The problem was that they were patting themselves on the back because they weren't deceived, and that they weren't going to hell because of being deceived. They were grateful for being on the right path, the same type of gratefulness that we show for being on the right path was the gratefulness that they show, and probably show daily. It seems therefore that the problem is not what one believes, but the problem is how one believes it. The problem is how one is. The problem is how fundamentalist one really is, how exclusive one is, how much pride and honor one gets for being the one who is right, the one who places himself above all others and looks down at others as inferior. And this is the problem in the world, if we really think about it. All of the wars and all of the violence, all of the pain, all of the suffering, all of the racism and homophobia and sexism, ableism, all of this comes from the idea that one group of people is better than the other, and that the other are receiving some type of negative pain and suffering because of their inferiority, because they are either stupid or lazy or evil. And these things, these three ideals basically have carried us forward as a civilization that hurts and destroys those who aren't able to keep up. Where is the compassion and where is the kindness in our generation? I don't know if it really exists anymore, and this is a bit frightening to me, because I don't know that the human being will exist anymore. The world is falling apart. We have driven it into hell. It is dying, and we can't seem to do the things that are necessary to change course, because we are trapped in our egos, always fighting against the other, always fighting to stand out and show how great and how bright and how intelligent we are, not caring for the other, not only the other person, but the other animal, the only plant. We don't care for the other enough to really feel their pain and suffering and to work to make a change. And so we find ourselves on this small planet spinning around a medium-sized average sun, killing the atmosphere, killing the oceans, wiping out thousands of species each month, and talking about whether it is intelligent or not to try to get more than 35 miles a gallon from each car, or if it's worth the money. I don't know